Alright everybody, we are back with another Monotype tier list video. Today we're going to be talking about Dark, the second type in alphabetically out of 18. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I know there was a good reception on the bug type, Monotype ranking video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one about Dark type, and if you already haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel for more content. We have 210 subscribers currently. We are doing well, slowly on the grind, so appreciate all of the support lately. But either way, let's speak about Dark. And on the forums I made this post about Mono Dark and essentially the different playstyle that I was trying to experiment with on Mono Dark, which was to be honest screens. But that isn't the main thing that I wanted to talk about, because I was trying to use Dark without any Grimstyle screens, but at the same time I came to the conclusion that using screens is obviously the best way to play Mono Dark right now. But either way, that has nothing to do with the tier list that we're going to be talking about, but it did contribute to me trying out different Pokemon on Dark and obviously having the accurate tier list, the most accurate one I can give you guys. So either way, here's the tier list, and I'll be basically discussing everything here. I've written it down in this post essentially, but at the same time I want to give you guys my thoughts without just reading off of the post like just straight away. So either way, we'll start from the top, and I want to say Grimmsnarl is the only S tier in Dark because it facilitates Dark's best style in the meta, which is screens, hyper offense, and Grimmsnarl this generation got parting shot, which really helps it out, because like the issue with Grimmsnarl was before that you set up the screens and you're kind of just wasting turns, because you either have to sack Grimmsnarl or like hard switch into like your screen abusers, whether that was like a SD Garchomp or Scale Shot in Generation A or any other setup sweeper you can think of. And the thing is, like, Grimmsnarl didn't have that pivoting option to really get out for free, but now it has Parting Shot, which is basically Prankster boosted as well, which means it's going to be the first one in most cases to get out, lower the offensive stats of the Pokemon it Parting Shots, and get in its teammates, and they'll have an easier time setting up because you have screens up and you have the attack and special attack reduced by -1 stage. So at the same time, like, it's so easy for Dark to just set up with any one of their mons and start winning the game from there. So that's why Grimmsnarl is in S tier. I feel like most Dark teams will have a Grimmsnarl, and they should have a Grimmsnarl. Outside of screens, Prankster plus Parting Shot, is a Dark type that isn't weak to fighting, so that's a pretty big one because of its fairy secondary typing. So there's no weak to fighting, which really helps it out. So that's why it's a necessity on Dark to cover Dark's 3 weaknesses. You have fighting, you have bug, and you have fairy, and Grimmsnarl covers 2 of those because fairy also resists bug. So Grimmsnarl is also a Dark type that's not weak to bug, so why wouldn't you want to use this one on the team? But looking at the A rank here, we got Chi-Yu, Meowscarada, Roaring Moon, Chien-Pao, and King Gambit, and this is relatively in order in terms of what I think is the best in A. Now that I look at it now, I low-key want to swap King Gambit over Chien-Pao, but I'll have to respect Chien-Pao a little bit. But either way, let's speak about Chi-Yu first. Chi-Yu is an insane Pokemon. Like, no offense, but by the time this video comes out, Chi-Yu's probably gone from the tier, to be honest, because the leader of Monotype Attribute, or one of the high-ranking council members in Monotype Attribute, was saying in chat earlier that Chi-Yu has like 4 votes on the council for it to get banned, so it just needs 1 more vote to get banned, and I'm pretty sure the rest of the council is probably gonna ban Chi-Yu. But either way, why is Chi-Yu so strong, you're wondering? Chi-Yu is so strong on Dark because it's Dark's best special attacker, and it's a special attacker that is kind of insane. His ability Beads of Ruin lowers the special defense stat of all Pokemon other than itself by 25%. So you're probably wondering, Chi-Yu hits freaking darn hard. Base 135 special attack. It has high power stab moves, whether that's Overheat, Fire Blast. Dark Pulse is also a pretty consistent stab option. It's 80 base power. It's not like Flamethrower, but at the same time, it also has a flinch chance as well. So Chi-Yu really has like no defensive answers at all. And I would say it's slightly worse on Dark because obviously you don't have Sun boosting Chi-Yu's fire damage, but at the same time it's still Chi-Yu. Like, this thing Loki just has a built-in life orb as its ability. So say same thing with Chien-Pao, which I'll be speaking about soon. But either way, yeah, Chi-Yu's kind of insane. I'm not surprised that council is wanting to ban Chi-Yu, and it probably will get banned. But yeah, that's the reason why Chi-Yu's pretty much one of the best Pokemon you run on Mono Dark. Meowscarada, as well is a Pokemon that's really strong. Is the fastest mon that Dark has to offer at base 123 speed. It's faster than Roaring Moon, so you can, outspeed that in the mirror. It's faster than Iron Valiant. It's faster than a lot of the new Pokemon that have come out, other than Fluttermane and things like Kilowattrel and Iron Bundle. But either way, Meowscarada has a lot of sets that it can run. It can run Choice Band to just completely break everything, whether that is like, Flower Trick. That Loki just solos Mono Water, banded Flower Trick. There's like zero switch-ins to that. There's also Knockoff. It has U-Turn, so it can, act as a pretty good Scarf. And there's also a Protein Mon, so it gets stab on every first attack that it uses. Unfortunately, Protein got nerfed, and it is good that it got nerfed, because Meowscarada would be a lot crazier if the Protein nerfs didn't happen. But yeah, it's a top mon on Dark. You can go Banded, you can go Scarf. I do appreciate Scarf because it frees up like running, Scarf Chi-Yu, because Specs does a whole lot of damage, I'll tell you that. So like having higher speed control than Chi-Yu, which is only at 100 base speed, is pretty nice. Roaring Moon as well. Also one of the faster Pokemon introduced in Scarlet and Violet, and it's basically just stronger Salamence, really. Like, it is not plagued by the rock weakness, so it's not forced to run heavy duty boots. It's also very, very strong. It has 139 attack, and a DD set under screens pretty much just wins the game at certain points. It was even worse with Boost Energy. Boost Energy made Roaring Moon so broken, because you'd get an attack boost, and then you just start DDing and you one-shot everything. Like, literally only ones like Dondozo would be able to handle Roaring Moon. Even Quagsire got, cured by Boost Energy Crunch, but that's not a thing that's in Gen 9 Monotype at this current time anymore. So how does Roaring Moon do without Boost Energy? It's still a really strong Pokemon. It has good coverage in Earthquake, it has Crunch, it has Dragon moves with Scale Shot, so it can, like, I've seen some loaded dice Scale Shot. I don't think it's that good, to be honest. I'd prefer to just run like Crunch, EQ, Iron Head, or maybe you fit Dragon Claw somewhere. But yeah, Roaring Moon is a very threatening Pokemon on Dark, and you can't really go wrong with using it, to be honest. Like, it's fast, it's strong, it actually has good bulk on the special side. It has a high HP stat of 105, and then it has, like, roughly around the same special defense. The only thing that lets it down is obviously is weak to priority, particularly Mach Punch and Ice Shard. And a lot of the Pokemon that use those moves, e.g. Breloom would always like OHKO this very easily. And then Ice teams like Satitan and Chien-Pao as well, those would threaten it out. But either way, Roaring Moon is one of the Dark's best sweepers. Probably is Dark's best sweeper. None of these are really sweepers other than, maybe... nothing else is like DD I suppose, but yeah, Roaring Moon is Dark's best sweeper. Chien-Pao, on the other hand, I think Chien-Pao is slightly overhyped in my opinion. Like, it's strong, it's really strong, it's fast as well. Like, it's immediately more threatening than like Chi-Yu in a certain extent, because 135 base speed, your speed time with Fluttermane, like, you're really fast. You're faster than Meowscarada, Kilowattrel. You're faster than Roaring Moon. You're faster than everything, mostly, other than Iron Bundle and Dragapult. And even then, those two, are prone to priority, because what Chien-Pao's ability, Sword of Ruin, does reduces the defense stat by 25%. So Sucker Punch is going to be doing lots of damage to anything that actually wants to try and revenge Chien-Pao with like a Choice Scarf. Either you go Ice Shard or you go Sucker Punch to do a lot more damage. Chien-Pao also has a variety of sets that can run. You can never really know what Chien-Pao is going to run on the Dark matchup, because you'll see these like 6 mons on a team. Like, you could slap the S and A mons into one team, but you necessarily won't know what set Chien-Pao's running. It could be SD, it could be Boots SD, it could be Banded. I've seen a couple of Scarf sets, and yeah, it's a very versatile mon in what it wants to run, but I do think it is slightly overhyped. It's not like Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu's a different level of like crazy, because there's less special rules in the game. There's a lot of Pokemon, or a decent amount of Pokemon on viable typings that can actually handle Chien-Pao, defensively. Like, Water has Dondozo. Like, Dondozo does not care what Chien-Pao's doing, not gonna lie, unaware. Ignores its stat boost. Iron Hands has enough bulk to, live at least one hit from full HP, and then, Drain Punch it back. It is dicey if it's at +2, but I'm pretty sure Iron Hands can still take a hit from full, even when Chien-Pao's at +2. Fighting has priority, so Chien-Pao isn't, the nigh unbeatable Pokemon that people believe it is, but it's still a very solid solid Pokemon on Dark. And then the last A rank Pokemon I want to talk about is King Gambit. And King Gambit is so dangerous, especially with Supreme Overlord. I still don't know why people are running Defiant. Like, there's hardly any defog. Like, the only, like, defog is exclusive to, like, flying Pokemon other than, like, Sizzle and Frostmoth. Like, Sizzle, you can, like, you're kind of scared of because of CC, but you just sucker punch that depending on, you know, if you're at +2 or you have Supreme Overlord boost. And Frostmoth isn't a Pokemon that you're concerned about either. So either way, like, flying isn't common either. So I don't know why people are running Defiant. Supreme Overlord is so cracked, especially when King Gambit is the last Pokemon standing and it's like life. Like, if it's the last one standing, it gets a free choice band. And then you have like you have an item with like Life Orb, or you get up a +2. King Gambit would literally just solo your entire team with Sucker Punch if you have like no resistances. Like, it's such a crazy end game Pokemon or late game Pokemon, and at the same time, it also has a lot of bulk to it as well. It has like 100 HP, like 125 defense, and like decent special defense as well. Like, King Gambit is not dropping to 1 hit, even if it's a ×4 move. Like, I've seen King Gambit live a non-stab fighting move from certain Pokemon with HP investment. Like, the mon is insane, and definitely one of Dark's top Pokemon. Now, you see this between A and B tier that I have for Ting-Lu and Lokix. It's because I feel like you could have a viable Dark team with literally just these 6. Like, these 6 like define Dark in my opinion, not Ting-Lu or Lokix, to be honest. But either way, you can still run these 2 on Dark and you'll still have a pretty good time, and they're not like B rank level in my opinion. So speaking of Lokix, let's talk about Lokix. Now, I talked about Lokix in my bug video. Obviously, I think Lokix is the best Pokemon that Mono Bug has to offer, and is also a pretty solid Pokemon on Dark as well. Again, Tinted Lens first impression threatens a lot of typings. It gets past bugs, you know, really bad set of resistances, like 7 types resist bug, like I mentioned. And yeah, if you've watched the bug video, you know why Lokix is good. The same thing kind of applies to on Dark. It's just a first impression bot, to be honest. But the more interesting one I want to talk about is Ting-Lu, obviously, because like I said earlier, Dark's is defined by Screen's HO, but Ting-Lu isn't a HO mon. It's a mon that has incredibly high defensive stats, whether that's from its 155 base HP stat or its 110 base defense and its 80 special defense. But either way, Ting-Lu is often hard to fit on, you know, Dark HO teams, because realistically, you want to be running Grimmsnarl plus 5 of these, you know, Pokemon, or if you want to dabble into some underrated picks like Iron Jugulis or Hydreigon itself, you'll be running that. But Ting-Lu often is a bit awkward to fit on those teams because, you know, it's not an offensive Pokemon by any means. It's there for hazards and it's there for bulk, which frankly for HO, you're not concerned about bulk. You're concerned about stacking the broken threats and, you know, killing your opponent before they get killing to you. So at the same time, Ting-Lu isn't a B rank Pokemon. It clearly isn't B rank. It's a lot better than these guys, I'll say that for sure. Even between its high defensive stats, Ting-Lu is not you know, it's not a Pokemon that is passive. Like, it has Body Press, it has Stealth Rock and Spikes, it has Whirlwind to, you know, inflict passive damage, and it's strong for like Dark teams that actually want to delve into the hazard stacking sort of thing. But at the same time, Ting-Lu does kill momentum, unfortunately. Like, if you're trying to set up hazards and you're up against like a more balancy type, like Poison, for example, Poison will just get up hazards against you and you'll most likely just lose the game. So having something like Ting-Lu on your team will kill offensive momentum against bulkier like type archetypes. But at the same time, you know, having those hazards is invaluable, especially in the mirror. Like, if you have a Ting-Lu in the Dark mirror, like, and they don't have a Ting-Lu, it's a very tough time for the opponent, not gonna lie. Like, Chi-Yu can not really break Ting-Lu that much because Ting-Lu's ability, Vessel of Ruin, drops special attack of all Pokemon by 25%. So Ting-Lu can go for the Body Press, probably Oko Chi-Yu, and then like Oko everything else will Body Press. So yeah, Ting-Lu in the mirror, it really just depends on what teams you face and what type of Dark team you're using with Ting-Lu that makes it really, really strong and at the same time a momentum sink. So yeah, that's why it's between A and B, because it's definitely not B tier, but it's not as defining for the typing as these 5 are for sure. But yeah, onto B rank here. These are Pokemon that I believe obviously have good niches, but they often struggle to like really, you know, stand out for themselves. Like they're not like solid picks for the type, but at the same time they're not unviable trash. So at the but yeah, let's begin with Hydreigon. Now Hydreigon has kind of taken the backseat. You know, Chi-Yu is Dark's defining special attacker, and realistically, out of the type, there's really only Iron Jugglers. You have Hydreigon and you have Chi-Yu that are like mainly special attackers. Everyone else is kind of, you know, physical attacker. I mean, I could include Zoroark, but Zoroark is obviously a lot more niche than Hydreigon and Chi-Yu are. But either way, Hydreigon still can do the same things it's been doing since Generation 5. It can be a legitimate Scarfer, it can be Specs, it has a nasty claw option since Generation 8, so it is kind of threatening. But at the same time, the competition with Chi-Yu is just too much. Like Chi-Yu breaks so efficiently that you don't even need to bother setting up. You could run a Scarf set and still be doing, you know, Specs level damage just because Beads of Ruin is an ability. And yeah, there's often not really a spot for Hydreigon to fit. It's also taken up the Dragon slot, to be honest, over Roaring Moon, which they share the same type. And then at the same time, you don't want to have, you know, Pokemon that are two Pokemon that are times for weak to Fairy, especially if you're stacking like maybe King Gambit on the side, because King Gambit is obviously not weak to Fairy type attack. So yeah, it's often just a choice where you're just like, Hydreigon doesn't really fit. But I feel like Dark's reliance on Chi as a special attacker would be its downfall against bulkier builds, particularly against water-based teams, because obviously Chi-Yu's a fire type, so he's weak to water. And if Chi-Yu's gone, then something like Dondozo literally just walls, you know, Dark unless there's a Meowscarada. And if there's no Meowscarada, then you kind of just lose against Dondozo, to be perfectly honest with you. So yeah, Hydreigon is definitely something that could be considered and should be considered, particularly if Chi-Yu gets banned. Like, Dark would need a special attacker, and it's either Hydreigon or Iron Jugglers. And speaking of Iron Jugglers, aka Hydreigon 0.5, I do respect this one slightly more now after discussing it with some users. You know, it is a flying type, which helps in the fighting matchup offensively. Like, nothing on fighting excuse me, nothing on fighting wants to switch into Iron Jugglers, whether that's like Specs, Hurricane, or whatever, even apart from like Iron Hands, because obviously Electric makes you know, Iron Hands neutral to the flying matchup, and Iron Hands would take the hit pretty well, and then just, you know, Oko Jugglers back with like a Thunder Punch or something. But at the same time, yeah, you really just threaten fighting out a lot with Hurricane. You're also faster than Hydreigon. Like 98 versus 108 is a massive difference. You're faster than base 100s like Salamence. You're faster than Chi-Yu. You know, like 108 is actually a pretty good speed to get the jump on some of those Pokemon, while Hydreigon doesn't even reach 100. It's stuck at 98. So there's pros and cons between these two Dark, you know, three-headed special attackers. But at the same time, I still think Hydreigon's better. In my opinion, it just, you know, feels like the better one. Iron Jugglers has to deal with a rock weakness, so like either, you know, you're running heavy duty boots to avoid rocks, or you're running no heavy duty boots and you're taking rocks, because obviously Dark has no removal options. So Iron Jugglers would have limited switch-ins because of rocks, and that obviously takes a chunk into its longevity. So, you know, there's pros and cons to the both of them, to be honest. Now T-Tar in B tier, you're probably wondering, T-Tar's in B tier, this one used to be one of the best. Now T-Tar just gives Dark too many weaknesses that it has to worry about. You know, he's weak to common typings like water, he's weak to fighting, he's weak to ground. You know, really strong typings in the metagame right now. So T-Tar is really like, is hard to fit it on Dark, but at the same time is one of Chi-Yu's best counters. Like, Chi-Yu's not doing any damage to T-Tar, particularly if it's a Spadef T-Tar set with like Rocks T-Wave, the support T-Tar essentially. Like, Chi-Yu's not doing anything, but other than that, that's mostly Tyranitar's niche on Dark. But I don't think it's in C tier, because it can offer some things to the team. It still offers, you know, something like Dragon Dance. It can take a hit from Fluttermane, and Fluttermane obviously is not doing as much damage because of the Sandstorm up boosting T-Tar's special defense. But yeah, T-Tar is definitely somewhat underrated, but like, its weaknesses, the 7 weaknesses, like, come on now, being weak to 7 types is not helping Dark out in the slightest. Now Spiritomb, Sableye, and Skuntank, again, like I did in this post, I talked about these 3 like as one whole point, but let me talk about why I'm grouping them. But they're like they're Dark types that, you know, offer, you know, neutralities to Dark's weaknesses. Spiritomb and Sableye aren't weak to Bug. They're also immune to fighting. Skuntank also isn't weak to Bug. and it also isn't weak to Fairy. So these guys are kind of similar in the roles that they offer. Like Sableye obviously offers dark dual screens, other than Sableye. Obviously his niche is, you know, much better on Ghost, because Ghost doesn't really have pranks to screens, does it? But you know, Sableye is worse screener than Grimmsnarl, but at the same time, it's kind of bulky. It has pranks to Will-O-Wisp, which Grimmsnarl doesn't really have, but it does have pranks to T-Wave and pranks to Parting Shot. So it is a bad Pokemon than Sableye. But Spiritomb, on the other hand, is bulkier than Sableye. It also has you know, an offensive, you know, move pool and offensive stats to back up those moves. It has Sucker Punch, it has Shadow Sneak. You know, it's bulkier than Sableye, so you have to, you know, respect that. And then also Skuntank is a poison type. It threatens fairy type Pokemon with its stab, poison jab, or gunk shot. Wait, does Skuntank get gunk shot? I'll have to double check that. Either way, but yeah, Skuntank's able to threaten fairy types like Iron Valiant, Gardevoir. You know, Fluttermane's kind of scared of this thing because you can P-jab it. Like, Fluttermane isn't weak to poison, but you can P-jab that, poison it, put in Sucker Punch range. I'm pretty sure, like, Max Attack Skuntank could potentially even, you know, kill Fluttermane from, like, 70 with poison jab. So, you know, Skuntank is there, and it does have a solidified niche on Mono Dark teams. Not, obviously, these B-rank Pokemon are often hard to fit on, you know, common and standard dark teams, but if you try and, you know, break away from the mold, go against the, you know, the status quo, then these guys can actually put in a decent job. Now on to C tier, the ones where, you know, they're either outclassed or they're just kind of like bad, but they're not like unviable level. But yeah, starting off with Weavile. Weavile's literally just worse Chien-Pao. I think it's been written home this entire generation so far that Weavile is literally just worse Chien-Pao. It's not that Weavile got worse, or obviously it did get worse. It lost Knockoff, it lost Triple Axle. Its best stab option for the dark side is Night Slash. You know, we're back into Gen 4 days. But yeah, Weavile is literally not doing anything that Chien-Pao can't do, and Chien-Pao has you know, it has SD like Weavile. It also has an ability that reduces defense. Like, there's no reason to use Weavile at all. And you know, 135 base speed versus 125. Obviously 125 is still solid speed tier. Its speed ties will kill a Wattrel, is faster than Roaring Moon, is faster than Iron Valiant, but at the same time Chien-Pao is faster than those as well. It's also faster than Weavile. Like, the only reason why you would want to use Weavile to a certain extent over Chien-Pao is honestly hard to say. Beat up. That's literally it. Beat up. Chien-Pao does not get beat up, but Weavile does. So that makes up for his lack of, you know, pretty poor dark stab, to be honest. So beat up can make up for that with the bandit set, but otherwise use Chien-Pao, to be honest. Bombardier, on the other hand, Bombardier is interesting because it's kind of bad. It is really kind of bad. I really tried to make this mon work, but it really just isn't really offering anything. Its stats are a bit too average / below average to really, you know, do anything notable for the type when you have beasts like Chi-Yu, BST monsters like Roaring Moon, Chien-Pao, King Gambit. Bombardier, I don't even think Bombardier is above 500 BST, and BST doesn't always mean everything. Like, Clef is a mon with below 500 BST and was one of the best Pokemon since, you know, Gen 6 to Gen 8, but at the same time Bombardier just doesn't really offer the type much, to be honest. It has Knockoff, which is pretty cool. It also has Rocks, but if you want to use a rocker on Dark, there's Tita and there's Ting Lu. So yeah, Bombardier isn't really offering a really solid niche for Dark for it to really see usage. I tried to run it like a Mandibuzz, but it obviously has worse defensive numbers than Mandibuzz, so that did not work out for me, did it? So yeah, what can you do? It doesn't, like, if it had Defog, I would respect it, but it doesn't get Defog, so, you know, it doesn't really offer anything. Zoroark, on the other hand, is another dark attacker. Like, if you try to compare it against Hydreigon and Chi-Yu, for example, Zoroark is faster than them. Is at 105 base speed compared to Chi-Yu's 100 and Hydreigon's 98. But also, you have to take Juggalis into the mix, which has 108 base speed. So you're a Pokemon that hits harder than Zoroark. You're also faster than Zoroark. And you also have dual stab with flying and dark, so you're hitting a lot of things for, you know, neutral damage. So Zoroark just doesn't really have a place if you want to use a dark special attacker. And even if you wanted to run two dark special attackers, whether that was Chi-Yu or Hydreigon or Juggalis, Zoroark just doesn't really offer anything. So it's a shame, to be honest, because Zoroark is pretty cool, but when its Hisui form comes, it'll be back in the limelight for sure, even though that won't be on dark, because Zoroark H is normal and ghost type. But yeah, Umbreon is next, and to be honest, the more I look at Umbreon, the more I'm just like, this one is just not doing anything to the type. Like, at least T-Tar and Tinglu are defensive, you know, darks that offer hazards, which is pretty strong in the current Gen 9 meta, where, you know, defog distribution is basically gutted to flying types, and, you know, rapid spin is still kind of limited, and some types just have no removal options whatsoever. But yeah, Umbreon just offers Wish. It's very passive. Is even more of a momentum sink than Tinglu, because at least Tinglu has Stab Earthquake coming off of like 110 attack, and also has Body Press coming off of, it's also 110 defense, I believe. So yeah, Umbreon is not that good. Crocodile and Honchkrow as well. I won't spend too much time on these guys. Crocodile hasn't really been good for a while. The only niche that these two have is obviously Moxie sweeping capabilities, but Crocodile is obviously better than Honchkrow. Honchkrow is too slow. Honchkrow is at base 71 speed. A Scarf Honchkrow can't even outspeed Fluttermane and Bundle. So it's really, really bad. And like, even offering like Sucker Punch on non-choice Scarf or choice banded sets, Honchkrow can obviously be played around with Sucker Punch. It's not that fast and it's too frail to actually function properly. And Crocodile as well lost its, you know, stab options in knockoff, but at least it has Crunch, so it's not struggling like Weavile with Night Slash. But still, why would you want to use Crocodile, really? Like, Power Creep has not been kind to Crocodile. There's better, you know, physical attackers for Dark, such as, you know, King Gambit, Roaring Moon, Meowscarada. Like, Crocodile doesn't really have a place. But yeah, we're almost done with the tier list. Let's talk about almost Dog Water for a second. I really don't want to spend too much time on these guys. They're practically the same Pokemon, they just have minor differences. But Wu Shen and Unga Bungus, aka Brute Bonnet, are really, really bad Pokemon that I really wanted to unrank, but these guys are still, you know, Pokemon in general, so I kind of have to, you know, respect them a little bit. Wu Shen, the worst of the Ruination, you know, quartet, and why, you're probably wondering why is Wu Shen so bad compared to Ting Lu, Chen Pao, and Chi Yu? Why is Wu Shen not that good? Now, Wu Shen has the worst defensive typing out of all of them. Grass Dark gives it 7 weaknesses. Like, it's supposed to be a defensive mon, but it has so many weaknesses. Its ability Tablets of Ruin lowers the attack of all Pokemon by 25%. But still, if you actually do the numbers, Ting Lu, fully defensive, is still bulkier than a Tablets of Ruin Wu Shen. Like, it's honestly just outclassed in what it can do by Ting Lu. At least if you wanted a Grass Dark Pokemon, you introduced 3 of them, actually. 3 of them, and they're just, like, one is really, really good because Protein gets rid of its 7 weaknesses. This one is a worse Amoonguss, and this one, I don't even know what this one is a worse version of. It's just bad. Like, they offer nothing to the type whatsoever. Like, Brute Bonnet, these two, there's more reason to use them on grass, and even then they're still painfully average / below average Pokemon. But on Dark, no reason to run these guys, not at all. You're using a worse team if you're running these guys, not gonna lie. There's not much else that needs to be said about Wu Shen and Brute Bonnet. They're just disappointing Pokemon. But at least Wu Shen has Knock, and Unga Bungus has Knockoff. Nah, not Knockoff, it has Spore. So at least these guys aren't complete on-mons. But the unranked section, now, these are on-mons. Like, Bishop, it's perfectly understandable. It's not fully evolved Pokemon now. King Gambit is just better Bishop. Like, I'm not going to hold Bishop to that. Like, for most of its time as a Pokemon, it was a fully evolved Pokemon. And now that it has an evolution, it can finally take a backseat, because realistically, King Gambit does everything Bishop wants to do and more. Houndoom, on the other hand. Now, would Houndoom still be unranked, especially if Chiyu's most likely getting put on the chopping block? I don't know. I don't think Houndoom is even saving itself, even with a Chi-Yu ban. This mon honestly doesn't do anything for Dark. He's the worst special attacker Dark has access to. He's also the slowest one that Dark has access to. There's not really much reason to use Houndoom at all, really, on Dark. Like, it's too frail. It hits kind of hard, but again, Juggerless and Hydreigon hit harder. Like, come on now. Like, Houndoom really has no niche on Dark, especially if Chi-Yu continues to stay in the tier. And even if Chi-Yu gets banned, I don't think anyone's gonna, you know, be like, oh, Chi-Yu's banned, we're gonna switch to Houndoom now. That's not happening. It really just is not happening. And finally, Mabostiff. Mabostiff is, like, I like to call it better Mightyena, because it really is better Mightyena. Higher attack, higher speed, Intimidate. Like, they are quite similar. They're both pure dark types. They're both, the highest stat is both attack. And, Mighty Enna is obviously one of the worst fully evolved Pokemon of all time. No buffs whatsoever. Even when the ones like Masquerain and Pelipper and Torkoal from Generation 3 got buffed, Mighty Enna got absolutely nothing. So, Mabostiff is its spiritual successor. I like to think about it like that. And yeah, it has no niche. No discernible niche at all on Dark. Why would I want to use this one? Someone explain to me why I would want to use this one. Oh, it could be banded. Why would I want to use banded Mabostiff when I could use my banded Rowan Moon, banded Chien-Pao, banded King Gambit, banded Meowscarada, banded Lockix? Why would I want to be using banded Mabostiff? Oh, it's a choice scarfer, like, no, it's not a choice scarf. You're not gonna act like you use this for a choice scarf. It has 85 base speed, it's faster than Mighty Enna, and 85 is not that bad whatsoever. Like, it's still okay, but at the same time, there's faster Pokemon. Why would I want to be using this as a choice scarf? There's just no niche for this Pokemon whatsoever, no niche at all. But either way, that is it for Dark. This is pretty accurate in my opinion. Some things could probably change once certain bans go through. Chiyu gets banned. Maybe Mighty Enna goes up to almost Dog Water. I don't know. No, not Mighty Enna, Houndoom. Maybe Houndoom goes up to almost Dog Water. But right now, this is pretty much how Dark is looking. Again, you could run a full 6 team with these guys, and then maybe Chiyu gets banned, like add a Hydreigon or Iron Juggler somewhere. And yeah, Dark is obviously one of the best typings in Gen 9 Monotype right now. And it's mostly because of these guys, but there's also some underrated things like Hydreigon, Iron Juggler as well. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. It actually went longer than I expected. I guess there was a lot more Pokemon to talk about for Dark, to be honest, and there was a lot more to say about them because Dark has a lot more valuable Pokemon than Bug has. So, what can I do about that? But either way, leave a like down below if you guys enjoyed this one. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and let me know what your favorite Pokemon to use on Mono Dark is. I'll be very interested to hear like your thoughts on my tier list, or whether you agree or disagree, or maybe you're one of the people that actually support Mabostiff. I don't even know. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.